We got on famously well, really well. I thought she was great fun, a real girl's girl, taking selfies, and she wanted to find a boyfriend. That was from, you know, she loved England, wanted to be in the UK, wanted to be made in Chelsea.
And you were a stepping stone.
And I helped. And I introduced her to a few. There were a few guys that you know, Ashley Cole.
Yeah. And once you'd served your purpose...
Well, hang on. Why introduce a nice lady like that to a flipping footballer?
She quite fancied him.
Nah.
Yes. He didn't. He said no. He just split with Cheryl at the time.
Oh, right, yeah.
So he
Anyway,
said
I'm not
no.
interested in that.
Anyway, we got on well. And look, I'm not a bitter, twisted friend, James. I know that's the angle you're coming from.
No, I'm not.
I'm not at all.
No, I'm not.
But I tried to help her, and then we got blank. Piers Morgan and myself. Ghosted is the word.
Okay. What's the problem? Somebody ghosts you. People ghost me every day.
She'd used her for what she wanted, and she...
I'm not talking to you. They ghost me every day. I don't care. You don't like me, I really don't care. It's not a problem. You're trying to make a career. You and Piers trying to make a career out of that. This poor lady married to a really good guy is horrible and terrible. Even heard people in the media saying, oh, their marriage is going to fail. It's not going to last very long. They're terrible. Do you know, I think you're despicable, people like you.
What happened on that Talk TV panel was nothing short of explosive, and honestly, it was overdue. James Whale, a veteran broadcaster who has been around long enough to recognize nonsense when he sees it, finally said what so many people have been screaming into the void for years. He told Lizzie Cundy, Meghan Sussex's so-called former friend, and by extension Piers Morgan, the uncomfortable truth, that they are desperately trying to build a career to squeeze out every last drop of relevance off of hating Meghan Markle. Whale didn't mince his words. He called it despicable, and the room froze because, for once, someone on these panels had the backbone to call out the cruelty at its root. Let's be clear, what Lizzie Cundy and Piers Morgan have been doing for years is parasitic. They attach themselves to Meghan's name like leeches, spinning tales of betrayal, ghosting, and character assassination, all to make themselves sound more important than they actually are. Lizzie Cundy in particular is a fascinating case study in manufactured victimhood. Her entire gripe with Meghan Sussex boils down to the idea that Meghan ghosted her after becoming more prominent. First, let's unpack this. Lizzie was never Meghan's lifelong friend. She was someone Meghan met briefly, a social acquaintance in the entertainment and social circuits. Meghan had just started building her platform, was preparing for major changes in her career and eventually her personal life. Like any ambitious woman, she was curating her circle. We all do it. When you're moving into a new stage of your life, not everyone comes along. And yet Lizzie has been repeating this story for nearly a decade, crying about being left behind, painting herself as a victim of Meghan's so-called coldness. But what's really happening here is projection. Lizzie wanted to ride Meghan's rising star, and when that didn't happen, she weaponized her bruised ego into tabloid fuel. She turned a personal disappointment into a professional grudge. Now let's place Piers Morgan right next to her, because their stories are eerily similar. Piers too claims Meghan ghosted him, abandoning their so-called friendship after one casual meeting and a drink. He has used this flimsy narrative to justify years of vitriol, years of insults, and a relentless obsession that has made him look less like a journalist and more like a jilted ex who can't take the hint. Meghan simply did not see a future in maintaining connections with people whose interests didn't align with her values or who might be more interested in clout than genuine friendship. That's called having boundaries. That's called protecting your peace. And yet both Piers and Lizzie flipped it into a sob story that gave them relevance in the tabloids. They act as though Meghan owes them her loyalty, her time, her attention, when in reality, she owes them nothing. This is why, James Whale's words cut through the noise like a knife. When he looked at Lizzie Cundy and said, "You and Piers are trying to make a career out of the fact this poor lady is horrible. I think you're despicable." He wasn't just talking about Lizzie. He was indicting the entire cottage industry of Meghan bashers. He was exposing the game. Think about it. Meghan lives across the ocean, in California, raising her children, building her brand, working on projects that bring positivity, empowerment, and creativity into the world. And yet in the UK media cycle, her name never leaves their mouths. Why? Because without Meghan, people like Piers Morgan and Lizzie Cundy have no hook. They have no relevance, they have no traction. They are like fading actors clinging to their last big script, and Meghan is the storyline they refuse to let go. James Whale embarrassed them on live television by making the obvious plain to everyone watching. And let's not forget the way Lizzie Cundy always dramatizes this so-called ghosting as though it were some deep betrayal. She sits on these panels and recounts the tragedy of being cut off by Meghan, and every time she tells the story, it grows more dramatic, more performative. It's like a soap opera she has cast herself in. But here's the reality. Meghan was navigating a global spotlight, the royal family, vicious press scrutiny, and eventually racism and bullying on a scale most of us cannot imagine. And, Lizzie's biggest problem was that Meghan didn't return her calls? Really? That's the hill she wants to die on? That's the grievance she's built a decade of commentary around? It's embarrassing. And James Whale told her as much without sugarcoating it. We have to admire how Whale's blunt honesty contrasted with the theatrics around him. Lizzie tried to play the victim. Piers is always in the background somewhere playing the jilted lover role. And then here comes Whale, cutting right through the self-pity with the truth bomb. You're trying to make a career out of this. That's the line that should echo in everyone's mind. Because that's what it is. Meghan is not their abuser. Meghan is not their tormentor. Meghan is simply their meal ticket. They feed off of her name. They thrive off of negative headlines. They wait for her to breathe, to move, to release a product, to smile in public, and then they twist it into fuel for their careers. James Whale stripped that charade bare in front of an audience. It's also worth noting how brave it was for Whale to say that in that space. Talk TV, GB News, these outlets often serve as echo chambers for anti-Meghan rhetoric. It's a constant parade of talking heads who recycle the same tired criticisms about Meghan's ambition, her American background, her supposed coldness, her refusal to conform to the palace mold. Rarely do you hear a figure within that ecosystem push back so directly. Whale saying those words was a breach in the wall, a rare moment of clarity breaking through the fog of coordinated hate. He wasn't defending Meghan directly, but by attacking the parasites feeding off her, he was shining a light on just how unjust and obsessive their behavior has become. And let's talk about Meghan herself, because in all this noise, her voice is the one deliberately muted. Meghan Sussex has always represented a kind of independence and strength that unsettles certain people. She walked into the royal family, an institution built on hierarchy and silent suffering, and she refused to play the docile role. She spoke out when she was struggling. She took control of her narrative when the press tried to define her. She left when the environment became unbearable. These are acts of courage. They are acts of survival. And yet, Piers Morgan and Lizzie Cundy try to paint her as cruel, manipulative, even horrible, simply because she didn't want to stay friends with them. Do you see the absurdity? Do you see the narcissism? Meghan's refusal to center their egos became their excuse to destroy her reputation. So when I said, "I think you're despicable," it wasn't just a humiliation for Lizzie Cundy. It was a mirror held up to the entire industry of Meghan haters. Because honestly, what could be more despicable than profiting from the relentless takedown of a woman who has done nothing to you personally except decide not to prioritize you in her life? What could be more despicable than fueling years of hate campaigns over a ghosting story, while ignoring the real issues Meghan has raised about racism, mental health, and media abuse? Lizzie and Piers turned Meghan into a caricature. and in doing so reveal far more about their own insecurities than they ever reveal about her.